Hello and welcome to the podcast of Firetop Mountain. I'm Stuart Lloyd and I'm here with the wonderful.
I don't know about wonderful, but Alison Cybe is here as well. Hello, yes.
You are wonderful. Hello, you are wonderful. Yes.
Okay, if you say so. Oh God, not according to this adventure because I did terribly on today's game book.
That's because I chose it and I knew what to do, and you probably didn't because it's my favourite game book. Well, it's not my favourite. It's one of my favourite game books. So, yes. We
Yes,
should. I think we should. Oh, shall I tell people which game book I chose for this week?
that would probably help. Yes, people, we
Yeah.
we do want to actually tell you which game book we've been playing. Honest.
Yes. It
Yeah.
is The Crimson Tide.
Dun dun dun.
Oh, yes, 47th in the original series,
Mm.
and by Paul Mason, who and this book revisits one of the place where Paul Mason wrote a previous book. It's the Isles of the Dawn,
Yes.
where Black Vein Prophecy happened.
Now,
So, yes.
Black Vein Prophecy was one of my favourite ones.
Ooh, yes.
But I have very, very little memory about Crimson Tide. I think because when you initially picked it, I thought, oh, that's the one where you go under the sea.
Oh, yes, that is Demons of the Deep.
Demons
I can
of the
see.
Deep. Yes.
Yes, I can see why it's got the word tide in in the name, and tides are normally associated with the sea.
But it's utterly unrelated to that at all.
Yeah, yes, and yes, you get to see the sea at one point, but it's not crimson.
Mm.
It's normal coloured, like the sea. So,
And the cover does have, I think, are they shark people?
I think one of them is. I thought they were both. I think the other one. I think someone's described the other one as a mole. It might be a mole. A mole.
I can't
Um,
tell. I'm not
No.
sure. I'm looking at it right now, and if you are listening along, leave a comment saying on the cover, are the guards in big golden or brass armor? Are they in brass armor? Are they in golden armor? Are they sharks or are they moles?
Yes, they both got bat wings as well, and one of their hands is a
God,
crab
yes, they do.
claw. Yeah, and there's a guy who looks like he's having a great time sitting on a throne with a bull and a horse. I mean, there's
Yeah.
two other animals behind the man as well, so maybe our listeners can try and tell us what they are as well.
I mean, he must be having a great time because he's got a big statue of a happy smiley face right behind him.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's great. Yeah, it's brilliant. There is. I mean, the cover is perfect. So, well, yeah. I mean, it's very evocative, and I just feel like I should point out one tiny thing about the cover, which is kind of a minor spoiler, if you don't mind. This
Spoil
cover, spoil away. This cover has absolutely nothing to do with what happens in the book.
Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing at all. Yes, I had very, very little in the way of like history with this one. I remember I rented it from a local library once when I was a kid, and I don't really remember much about it because I would rent out a Final Fantasy book at least once every 2 weeks, and just play through as many of them as I could. And yeah, I think this one kind of got lost in the influx of them.
Yes. Well, yeah, I suppose yes. There was that. Yes, I had a similar magical time when I got a new fighting fantasy book sort of regularly when I was a kid. I kind of remember talking to my school friend about it, who was in retrospect he was very patient and kind to listen to me, and yeah, so I got it as a kid. I won't.
You've just reminded me. Like at one point, I had actually read through all the Final Fantasy ones they had in my local library, and I had to convince my parents to take us to the next library over, which was like a 15-minute drive, just so I could invade and get all of the books from that library as well.
Oh, that is awesome. I mean, yes. I mean, yeah. My W.H. Smith sort of kept me going, so that was okay. And then I yeah, we can swap stories on what we did to do Fighting Fantasy Books. I phoned up a local radio station one summer holiday and asked people if I could buy any Fighting Fantasy books from them, and I got Master of Chaos from that. So I was pretty chuffed with that. So yeah.
Oh wait, which one was Master of Chaos? Oh, Master of Chaos. I'm sorry.
I think it's Master of Chaos. It's got with the big crocodile type person on the front.
I do remember Master of Chaos. Unfortunately, but never mind. Yes, to all our listeners, I'm not a big fan of Master of Chaos.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, maybe we'll talk about it one day.
Yes, maybe we can cover it perhaps at some point on the series, or maybe even next season.
That's true. Oh yes, next season. Yes. And I could ask our listeners something as well. I've thought of another thing the listeners can put in the comments.
Listeners,
do you have any stories of the extreme lengths you went to get Fighting Fantasy books in your youth or in your adulthood, for that matter? So,
in your adulthood is going to be how much did you pay for books 50 plus?
Oh yes, yes.
Yeah, those ones are not the easiest to find, and oh my god, they set me back a pretty penny.
Yes, they did. Yeah. So yeah. If you wanna disclose that, then that's that'll be interesting to see.
Shall we cover a couple of them in season 2?
Yes. Why not?
Oh yes. Oh, that's going to be a treat. But first, Crimson Tide.
Yes. Exactly. Yes. This is a good one. What should we start with? Should we start with the background?
Yes, start with the background, and then I can do the new stat gimmicks.
Oh yes, exactly. So the background is you live in the Isle of the Dawn, and you're a simple peasant who sort of harvests rice. But one day, some mercenaries come to your town, and the leader of the mercenaries, who is big and evil and has a mask that covers his face, cuts down your father, kills your father, and then rides off with your mother to sell her into slavery. And you and the remaining survivors of the village have to start off on a quest for revenge.
Yeah.
So it's very good. I mean the masked villain looks very intimidating, and I wish they do masked villains with big swords and armor more in stories and things. I don't think we've seen enough of them.
Yeah, I'm looking at the masked villain at the moment. Definitely has a Thulsa Doom vibe.
Yes. So definitely, yeah. So
I realise we're of an age where we don't have to explain who Thulsa Doom is. I think most of our audience are going to be the same. For those who are a little bit younger, that was the bad guy from the first original Conan the Barbarian film with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yes, exactly. Yes, he gets very shouty towards the end, but it doesn't save him.
So yes, similarly, because your character is essentially on a quest for revenge, he has a stat which is quite appropriate for that, ferocity, which helps fuel you in combat.
Yes, it's sort of how much you really want revenge, and it's kind of related to your stamina. The bigger your stamina, the bigger your ferocity. So yes, and it can go up or down.
Yeah.
And it's we can get to ferocity because Paul Mason has an interesting philosophy with his books, because all 4 of his books are kind of they're not your straightforward go into a dungeon and kill lots of people books.
No.
So there's a twist with ferocity. Maybe we can save that for later when I.
Yes, because I don't think I died before it became relevant.
Okay.
Which is so common for me playing these games. I did say that there were 2 new stat gimmicks in this one, and the second one is age, isn't it?
It is, because yes, I didn't mention your age at the beginning, that your character's age, because you're actually a teenager when you start this adventure. Yeah, you're 13, which is a new one, and that affects your skill and stamina, doesn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think it has a knock-on effect with your ferocity as well. But
Yes.
I'm not too sure. I kind of like this. I like the idea that that you're on a almost a lifelong journey. That kind of it's not a an adventure which is over and done in a couple of weeks. You're on a quest which is going to take up most of your life as a young person and straight into adulthood as well. I really like that.
Yes, exactly. Yes, it is brilliant. It's sort of yes, it's yes, it's sort of a quest in the a sort of long quest and something that shapes your entire teenage years as well, rather than just a bog standard sort of delve into a dungeon. So yes, it's very in depth compared to most fighting fantasy books.
One thing I liked is I believe it's set fairly near to Hachiman, which is the nation that you begin in from Sword of the Samurai.
It is, and that pops up towards the end of the book, which you may not have noticed. So yeah, there's a bit of world building as well. And,
nice continuity.
Yeah, and also the book starts as if in Black Vein Prophecy your character was successful. So your character was called Mayor, and Mayor was the sort of good son to the evil king before that, and he defeated his evil brother, and now he's the king. So yes, there's Hachiman and there's Mayor. So there's two books that are sort of referenced in this book, and possibly another one, because there's a character that may or may not be another character that pops up in Paul Mason's books as well, which we can get to. So. And
one of the nice things, even though the setting here is very based on ancient China, it kind of skews away from the European style of fantasy that you get in a lot of the books. Kind of diving into different tone, a different culture as well, and that's nice. I like that. I also like that it does for the most part avoid the more kind of tropey elements of how like like Far East Asian and for lack of a better term, quote unquote Orientalism is portrayed in fantasy at that time. It doesn't feel like it stumbles into any iffy territory.
That is correct. Yes, I never felt that playing it. It kind of feels like Paul Mason's done his research and put in some sort of creatures that were from mythology, I think, and then and so it's just sort of like you are yes, and you don't, and it doesn't fall into the whole all the tropes that you might see in sort of martial arts films and other things. So
I'll tell you who else did some real research on it, and that's the illustrator as well.
Okay.
Because the architecture and the costumes that you see in a lot of the buildings and clothing, respectively, are fairly accurate.
Oh, this is brilliant! Oh wow, this is Terry Oakes. Terry Oakes was the illustrator.
Oh yeah.
Terry Oakes did a lot of good a lot of research then. So, wow, this must be a very well researched book then. Possibly candidate for the best researched fighting fantasy book.
Possibly. So, you begin as a 13-year-old. Your family has been, your father has been brutally cut down by the rampaging warlord, and you set off on a quest to avenge him. Stuart, would you like to begin? How did this quest start for you?
It started okay, because there's a very infamous beginning to this quest that you have to avoid, and I managed to avoid it.
And what is that? What is that infamous start?
The infamous start is, you're given two choices to either go down the road or go across the rice paddies. And if you go across the rice paddies, you encounter a giant mudworm,
which I got attacked by.
Yes, a skill 12, stamina 6 giant mudworm.
It's absolutely brutal.
It is. Because yes, we haven't said the exact start of the skill and stamina. Your skill is either one, it is between 1 and 6 because you're a teenager.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so that's the bit you avoid. So basically, the giant mudworm is impossible. Yes, it is. I remember something about on Titanica about this, and apparently, someone was supposed to be editing and forgot that the stats were different, so they changed the skill 6 giant mudworm to a skill 12 giant mudworm. Yeah, Paul Mason called him a dingbat and a total idiot.
Who was the editor on this one?
I was trying to say it was Mark Gascoigne.
Oh, Mark, we're sorry.
Yes, but there we go. I don't know what the confirmation is of this. It's a letter from Paul Mason. It's on the Internet Archive. But there we go.
We will have to we'll have to touch base with Paul at some point and see what the new work is that he's up to.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
So when we're not being attacked by giant mudworms in the middle of the rice paddies, we hopefully get
Well, yeah. So you go along the road. The trouble is with this beginning is you have to go on the mud paddies to win. So what you have to do, and I remember this from childhood because I must have played this way too much. First, you go along the road. Then you get ambushed by a sort of mercenary who's sort of wandering around on the road, and since you are a teenager and you're leading a bunch of other children because you're the one with the wooden sword, so you're the leader by default.
Yeah, can I just point out, none of you start off with a group of companions, and I don't believe that they die at the first opportunity.
They don't die at the first opportunity.
Which is normally what you get with fighting fantasy ones.
It is. It's a nice little sort of change. I mean, they abandon you at the first opportunity, but they don't die. So
no, they are not eaten by a giant crab.
No, exactly. Yes, that is that. Yeah, but poor Mungo. He deserved better. I think.
He did.
Yeah.
Justice for Mungo.
Yes, exactly. We need a prequel where we find out all the adventures that Mungo actually did.
Yes.
Got up to. So, yeah. So yes, your companions just abandon you. I ran after them into the paddies, and then one of my companions sort of fell over, and then I tried to distract the horseman to save my companion, and then my horseman knocked me out. With the horse sort of hits me on the head and knocks me out, and when I wake up, everyone's disappeared. So there we go. Well, that's the beginning. That's what you're supposed to do to get onto the rice paddies without fighting the skill 12 giant mudworm.
Yeah, that's the good start to the game.
Yes, you're lying in a pool of your own blood in a muddy rice field.
Yay!
So there we go.
Yeah. Right. So we got off to a fairly okay start. And I believe did the same thing happen to yourself, that your character remembers that he has a distant uncle.
Yes. Exactly. Yes. So
something odd happened to me here. I was told to record the word art on my sheet.
Yes.
I have no idea why.
Well, it is a normal code word. I didn't record art. I think you are allowed to go back to the city where your uncle lives, and if you visit him again, then the art code word means that he says something different to you than before. But
what is the context to the word art being the code word?
I'm not sure.
I took it to kind of hint that your uncle was maybe an artist, but I don't think he is.
No, I see. There's something about the code words that shall I mention them now?
Yes.
Okay. Well, they do seem seemingly random because the first code word I got was the word king, which I got randomly because I turned up at a place and then decided to that's it. I decided to walk past a city rather than go into it. That's where I got the king code word. So it seems really random, okay. But then the other code words I got are offers. I got sword, turn, and then two. And then I got a little maths quiz, and I was told to write down what my answer to the maths quiz was. So
odd.
It is so odd. And I missed the first code word I was supposed to get because I lost to combat. But so basically, if you do the right path, you get a little message in your notes, which is very important. And yes. There's so much. There's so many tricky things in this book. I mean, there's something. Maybe I should mention it now, but it's towards the end, so maybe I should mention it towards the end.
Yes, let's mention it towards the end. Reel it back to you go to visit your uncle.
Yes.
You have I think it was your aunt who gives you a bag of money. And your uncle tells you that you should train in the fighting arts, and I kind of picture that having done so, there is then an 80s style training montage.
Oh yes, well yeah, you're running up the steps, sort of going to a butcher's and hitting some meat. All of it. It's brilliant. Yes, it's more like the Karate Kid. So the uncle tells you to do this training to fight at the monastery. Yes, is it Bakao? Is that how you pronounce it?
I think so. Bakao, I'm not sure.
Okay, yes. Which is actually the Chinese word for revenge. So,
Monastery of Revenge.
Yeah.
This is where everyone goes to study the ancient art of revenge. Bruce Wayne trained there.
Exactly. Yes, picking a blue flower and everything. It's yes.
I can't think of anyone else who trained there, but I'm sure there's many.
Yes. There's the guy from Hot Shots. He goes to a monastery at the beginning of the second film.
Yes, that's not a parody at all.
Well, yes. The celibate monks who swore to celibacy like their fathers and their forefathers before them. That monastery.
Okay, so how did your adventure go from there?
So I met my uncle and I travelled to Bakau Monastery, and then going up the mountain, I found an interesting monk character who looks suspiciously like someone who has appeared in other of Paul Mason's books. And he's got a very big grin, and he's his robe hiding half his face, and he is a bit of he's a bit strange. He doesn't really want to talk to you as a sort of straightforward way. So I bowed to him. And when I bowed to him, he asked me a riddle, which might give you an impression of who it is. Any big Fighting Fantasy fans might, but maybe I should say who it might be, although it's never explained if it is.
You have a theory.
I have a theory. It's the Riddling Reaver. Because he's always turning up in Paul Mason's books, sort of nudging the adventurer along the right path.
Yeah, if it is, he's definitely travelled far, hasn't he?
Oh, he is. He gets about a bit. Oh, he's got a flying ship. So that's probably why. Yeah. So yes, and he decided it was important enough to sit on a mountain and pester you.
As you do.
Yeah, exactly. You know, so he's doing more riddling than reaving in this. So I answer that he asks what's got roots. Yeah, the riddle. I say it's a mountain. What's got roots deep in the ground, but sort of goes into the clouds, and he sort of likes that, and then lets me go. Which was nice of him, but I appreciated the thing. I think if you try and kill him, you can fight him and kill him, but if you do, he just sort of gets up again and says well done, and then you go on instead. So he's got sort of mystical powers. And he's not very monk-like, because you expect monks to be calm, but he's sort of cheeky and sort of yes. and a bit strange. But there we go. He's definitely a trickster type character. Yeah. So
a surprise cameo.
Yeah. So he's pretty good. So then I go to the monastery. Did you make it to the monastery?
I did.
Oh, good. Yes. So yes. What did you do? Because you get lots of options in the monastery.
I am looking at my notes. My notes go a little bit weird at this point. Just so the listeners know, it has been a few days since I played this one. I have written down go to monastery, giant worm, 1 year later.
Okay.
Yes.
Was that because you had the silk code word?
I think I had. No, I don't think I had a silk code word. No.
Oh, okay. I think. Where does the giant worm turn up?
There was a giant worm.
There was a giant worm.
Do you remember where there was a giant worm?
There was a kind of a giant worm on the path, and if you fight it with a spear, you get a bonus.
Yeah.
That's a giant worm. I can't remember if the giant worm. There might be a giant worm in the test that you take at the monastery.
There was a giant worm where we made camp on the way up to the monastery.
Okay.
Yeah.
I must have taken a different path to you.
Yes.
Yes. So there is a giant. I didn't encounter the giant worm, but I do remember the giant worm from one of my many playthroughs. I think it can do some strange things to you if you get too close to it as well. It can sort of hypnotize you, maybe.
It did hypnotize, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, I believe it may have. It did appear to transform into an old man.
Oh, okay. Was it an old man with a sword?
It was an old man who very quickly left. And I just kind of presumed that I told all of my companions that there was an old man who's really a giant worm monster, purely to cover up for the fact that I'd beaten up an old man to death in the middle of the night by mistake.
Well, fair enough.
It gets dark at night.
It does get dark at night, and you can't tell the difference between an old man and a...
We didn't have any lanterns with us.
Yes, that is true. You didn't take those. So you don't get the option of taking those with you. So yeah, okay. So the giant worm attacks you. So yeah, that's you beat up a giant worm. So or an old man.
We hide the evidence, and then a year passes.
Okay. Yes.
Well, I say a year passes. We're instructed to add 1 year.
Yes. And sometimes, if you add a year, you can increase your skill and stamina if you do something. If you do something sort of that would improve your skill and stamina, but not in this case.
Yeah.
So yes. So and then, did you go to the city or the mountains?
We went to the city.
Oh, Treol, the capital city. Yes, it's quite open, this book, isn't it? It gives you free reign to sort of do what you want. Okay.
So your travel went quite different from mine, didn't it?
It did, because when I passed the sort of riddling reaver disguised as a monk or just a cheeky monk, I actually got to the monastery, and I told the abbot, Dry Jade, I wanted to be a monk, and he said, okay, here's some red robes, and then he asked me what I'd like to do as a job. So I decided to work in the kitchen. I could either work in the kitchen, the laundry, or clean the monk sort of practice rooms.
Makes sense.
And so, yeah. So the sort of training montage is a bit more like Karate Kid than Rocky. It's more like waxing on, waxing off, which it basically is. So I spend 2 years working in the kitchen, and then I tell him I'd like to go, and then he says, "Well, would you like to do an important job for us before you go?" Yeah, and then it gets a bit strange, because I'm in a competition. I end up in a competition against some other monks, and I meet another monk, and he has a white face. So he's from another sort of school of sort of martial arts and another monastery. So I have to fight him, who I beat thanks to my thanks to my gaining a skill point, and also this is where the Frosty comes in.
Yeah.
Because my Frosty hits 0 when I'm at the monastery.
Because you have found inner peace.
Exactly. I turn to 200 and I think, what's going to happen? I find inner peace and get to add 2 to my skill.
I like that. That really works. Oh,
yes,
that's very cool.
It is, because it's very clever of Paul Mason, because you start off on a quest for revenge and you think it's going to be about growing up and finding the mercenary and training up and killing him, but actually Paul Mason has decided that what you should do is sort of not let the quest for revenge cloud your mind, and actually letting go of it is the best thing to do. And yeah, and this is a theme in Paul Mason's book. It's kind of the theme of, if you sort of become like the villains, then you might as well have lost.
Which other ones did Paul Mason do, just for the listeners?
Oh, so he did Black Vein Prophecy. He also did the Slaves of the Abyss, and he did Mage Hunter. Yeah. So so they've all got so none of them have go and kill the bad guy themes. I mean, Black Vein Prophecy is the sort of the main one, where if you kill your evil brother, then you become a ruler who's just as bad as he would have been, or your father. So
they all have their own very distinctive styles, and I'd say like unique feel to them.
Yes, exactly. I mean, so Slaves of the Abyss as well. It's sort of it's got. I don't want to spoil that ending. It's brilliant, but the winning ending is actually a very unique ending. It is a unique ending, and not the kind of ending you'd expect.
That's not one that we're covering this year, is it? Well, I say this year, this season.
No, but I'd like to get to it, because it's brilliant.
We can add it to the ticket for next year, can't we? Next season.
Can indeed, yes, and possibly. Well, Mage Hunter's one of those 50-something ones.
See, here in the UK, we refer to a season of a show as like a year.
Yes. Yeah, in the UK...
Just to clarify, for our American audiences, it's normally because it takes a year for them to make the show.
Yes, right. And then in the UK, you get 6 episodes of it as well.
Yeah.
You don't get 24. You're like 6 episodes of whatever happens. So yes, but yeah, we'll talk about it. We could talk about it next season. Paul Mason's got some very unique sort of things. He also wrote the Riddling Reaver role-playing game version as well.
I have a copy of that.
Yes, it's pretty good, and it's good. Anything involving the Riddling Reaver, I love. I love a bit of trickster action, because you never know what's going to happen. So
did you leave the monastery at any point?
I did eventually, after fulfilling my quest, which is actually a journey to the centre of your mind. You see a vision of your father, and you give him I gave him my most prized possession, which was my sword, but it didn't. I don't think it mattered which one I gave it to him. I just had to underline it in my book, and then I had to go through some double doors, which sounds more difficult than it is. More difficult than it sounds, because if you push one, then something different happens. But I managed to get the right one. And then I found the object of the quest, which is a bowl, and I took the bowl, and then I took it to Dry Jade, and he smashed it on the ground.
Oh.
Because the true prize was in you all along.
Oh.
So there we go. That's
the true purpose of our quest is the friendship that we made along the way.
Exactly. That's the message.
How old is your character at this point?
So I think my character is 15 at this point.
Has
they
learned all these vital lessons at such a young age.
Exactly. Yes. I feel very privileged. So yes. So that's what happened. And then I leave the monastery and continue my quest to I continue exploring, because I don't really want revenge, but I will carry on to see what happens.
See, and I wound up just rocking into a town and getting into a big fight with some of the guards.
Ah.
Yeah.
Did you survive the guards?
No,
Oh,
but
they're the other.
I did replay it, and I did survive the guards, and I managed to slay several of them.
Oh, nice.
And then 20 of his best friends jumped on me and dragged me off to jail.
Ah,
And a few days later, they cut my head off because I was a public nuisance.
yes, killing people just generally get you labelled as a public nuisance.
Yeah, I think on the whole, you learned a whole lot more than I did.
Yes. Yeah, it sounds like. I mean, yeah, I got to the monastery, so those monks are pretty good teachers. In in a very strange way, like the classic Mr. Miyagi kind of way. Like you spend 2 years sort of working in the kitchen, and then then you can do martial arts. So
Tell me of the rest of your journey.
okay, yeah, so brilliant. So then I found the mercenaries, and they're up to their old tricks. They're attacking some innocent farmers. So I tried to distract the mercenaries so that the farmers could escape, but I couldn't, which was a pain because I'd like to try and do good. I didn't march into the mercenaries camp. I didn't feel like I could do that. But then I found an old man with a golden sword, and it's the sacred sword of Sui, and he gives it to me, and he's giving it to me because it's like the symbol of a rebellion and symbol of freedom.
Is gold a good material to make swords out of?
It is not. Minecraft has sort of told me it sort of wears out easily.
They're quite malleable, isn't it?
It is. It's a very soft metal. Yes. Yes. You
Don't
wouldn't
make
really,
swords out of gold.
No. Make jewelry out of gold. Make
Yes.
anything out of gold, not swords. Well, this one's enchanted, so it's probably stronger than your standard gold sword.
Which makes you think how much stronger it would be if it was made out of iron.
That is true. That is very true. So, yes. So whoever made that sword was sort of not thinking very straight. 'Cause,
I'm sorry. Oh dear, Alison's broken up now. Okay. So when I'm not ragging on the golden swords, which is probably someone's precious relic or something.
the important thing is it's a symbol, so
Yes.
it works very well as a symbol.
Yes.
Because then, because you don't have to actually, There's a bit which I completely missed, where when the rebels see the sword, they get inspired and sort of fight the dragon guards instead. But I missed that bit. I sort of I ended up at the city where the rebels were because I was told to deliver this sword to the leader.
Yes.
I missed him. I was unlucky. I did my one luck test and I got attacked by a drunk who there was no option to run away from, so I killed, and it said he deserved to be left in the gutter, which made me realise that my character definitely has several issues, understandably.
Yeah.
Yes, because I'm sure if they're drunk and you ran away, they'd sort of forget about you. But
Yeah.
yes, I mean, understandably, your character saw their father get killed at the age of 13. And
Yeah, probably left a whole lot of psychological scars on them.
yes, exactly. So, and
If you had spent some more time with the monks, you might have been able to heal them, perhaps.
well, exactly. I can't remember reading it, and maybe one of our listeners can confirm it. But I think Paul Mason wanted spending the rest of your life with the monks to be the successful ending. I think the monks are like the closest thing to therapists you've got in this sort of fantasy world. But I expect the editors overturned that and said, no, you've got to defeat the bad guy.
Yeah.
So there we go.
So is that how the adventure ended? Jumpers to the conclusion.
Right. Well, I meet a diplomat from Hachiman who says that she was turned away at the palace, and you sort of getting the impression through the book that there's something going on. There are rebels, there's discontent across the country, and the diplomat's been turned away. But she gives me a sort of wooden sort of thing with writing on to let me into the palace, the king's palace, King Mao's palace, So I get to go in, and I tell Mayor about all the troubles in the country, that there's mercenaries attacking innocent villagers, and there's rebels, and there's dragon guards out of control.
Basically
And
cutting an entire crimson tide across the country, you could say.
exactly, title drop. That's the name of the book. So Mayor's very upset about this because he's not heard any of this, and so he wants me to be the sort of eyes and ears in the country, and sort of his top enforcer. Oh, and also I meet Mayor's a character from Black Vein Prophecy, Mersey, who is sort of Mayor's right hand man. He's the Grand Counselor of the Isles, who lets me pass because I'm wearing red robes like him.
Yeah.
Which is good because he's like a martial arts master and would have killed me otherwise. So the king offers me the sword, and he's got his advisor Pantu there, and then it gets a bit funny because it says, do you take the sword and swear loyalty? Do you sort of say you're not worthy, or do you do something else? And then it says, or there might be something else you want to do.
Ooh.
And I get a bit confused about this, and then I realise that's what the notes are telling me, and it says king offers sword, turn to a section, which is the section that the number I've written down when this sort of person on the street asked me a maths question. And so instead of turning...
So the keywords are laying out an instruction for you.
They are. It is very clever.
That is real. Oh, wow. That is really smart.
It is really smart. And yes. And so I turn to that section, and then sort of Pantu, the advisor, turns into a big snake monster and looks like he's about to kill Mayor. And I use my golden sword to cut his head off. And then Mayor realizes that Pantu was sort of corrupting him and stopping him from seeing what the problem is in the country.
Oh, once more an evil advisor.
Exactly.
It makes you think why they hire advisors.
Exactly. It's like if you put an advert out for an advisor, it's just asking for evil wizards and
they all turn into serpents.
Exactly. It's like
I'm looking at Lord of the Rings with Theoden and Wormtongue. I'm now looking at like Aladdin with Jafar. It's like if you have an advisor to the king, they're going to turn into a snake or at least have the name of a snake, and will probably be horribly, horribly evil.
Yes, exactly. So the moral of this story is if you ever become a monarch, don't have any advisors.
Yes, go entirely off your own volition. Just like make a Twitter account and just scream into the void. It will always work out well for you.
Exactly. I'm sure any country that has a leader like that is probably experiencing. It's probably utopia.
Absolutely. Oh dear. So you have rescued the monarch.
Yes, I rescued the monarch, and then he offers me. There's one final choice, and he says, "Do I want to rescue my mother or avenge my father?" And then I remember it's a Paul Mason book, and that I shouldn't be violent and stoop to the level of the villains. So I decide to rescue my mother. So he takes me on a camping trip. We go travelling across the country together. So me and the king just go on a little trip together, which he quite enjoys because he did it when he woke up out of the tomb, and he probably quite likes the open air after spending his entire life stuck in a tomb asleep for sort of several years. And then so he rescued my mother because he says that children and mothers are always connected in some way, so he follows the connection with magic because he can do magic. And then he finds the mercenary leader. Oh, there's one more choice, and he makes the mercenary leader sort of hypnotized. And then do you take your golden sword and strike him down, or do you let him show him mercy? And it's because it's a Paul Mason book, I do not strike him down with all my hatred. I show him mercy. Awesome. And then he takes off the demon mask, and it burns up, and the person below the demon mask has a face that's similar to mine, which I think should be used more in sort of media, pop culture. Because I think it's a good thing. If there's any other situation where there's someone fights a villain and you take off their mask and the face is the same as the hero, then then their listeners should leave a comment. Can't think of any off the top of my head.
No, none at all. None. I cannot think of any. Yeah, yes. Didn't Luke Skywalker do it several times?
Yes. Maybe in a cave in Dagobah. Yeah.
It is quite often used, but I think it's very effective.
It is, yes. I mean, it's very Paul Mason, because Paul Mason saying you could just as easily be as bad as this person, but well, in this case you didn't. And then Mayor makes you the eyes and ears of the God King, and then he lets you have free reign of the land, and gives you official sanction to wander the land and murder anyone you like, because you're still
wait.
Yay! Yeah.
Hang on.
Because you're a teenager with PTSD.
Yes. Okay, that's okay. Well, never mind that.
Yeah.
So, what did we think? Shall we give marks out of 10?
Oh yeah. Oh yes.
Yes.
But can I reveal what the Paul Mason's final cunning trap?
Yes.
Okay. So the bits where the king offers you the golden sword and asks you if you want to swear loyalty to him, the bit where you don't turn to the secret section, one of them is turning to 400. If you swear loyalty, and he says turn to 400.
Ah.
But then, so Pantu then takes you away, and you think, oh, I'm on 400, I've won.
Yeah.
But then Pantu takes you away and drops you in a pit to starve to death.
That's so naughty. Oh, I like that. I really like that. Oh, wow.
Yeah. So Paul Mason pulled out all the stops for his evil traps.
I'm giving this one a very, very high score, I think.
Yes, I think so too. Yes, I think What final hint? If Paul Mason tells you to turn to 400, then don't. Basically.
Right. What are we rating? Out of golden swords.
Yes. So I'm going to give it 4.5 golden swords for all its innovation.
Oh, is this out of 5? Yes, it is out of 5. Yes.
Yeah.
I will give it four lovely goldens. No, let's make it 4.5.
Oh, yes. Yes. Well, yes, it's very innovative and brilliant. Yes, there's loads of innovation in it, and
I do like this one. This is lovely. So that gives us what, 9 out of 10?
Yeah, 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10 golden swords between us for the Crimson Tide. That is awesome.
Yes, that is awesome. Yes, excellent. Yeah.
Even though I did not do well at it at all, but there is always next time, because you can always start at paragraph 1.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. So,
and which game book are we starting at paragraph 1 on next week?
Next week, yes, it's one of your choices. It's Return to Firetop Mountain.
Yes. Oh wow. Oh yes, Return to Firetop Mountain. I have been wanting to return to Firetop Mountain for quite a while.
Yes, I think it's appropriate because this was written for the 10th year anniversary, was it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and this is the 40th year, so this is like a
book number 50.
Book number 50, yes. So it's a multiple of 10 anniversary. So yes. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. Yes.
Oh, lovely. So we hope that all of our listeners will return to Firetop Mountain with us at the same time next week.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Stuart, would you like to tell anyone anything else that you've been working on lately?
Yes, I would. Yes, please. I finally finished a book that I started in 2011 for the Windhammer competition. It's called Rulers of the Now, and you can get it for pay what you want on Itch or Drive-Thru. And yes, well, as of recording, I'm in the middle of doing the Lindenbaum competition. If you hear this, it might be over, but the books that have entered will be online. So keep an eye out on the blog. There'll be 16 books, 16 game books to look at.
So tell us a little bit about Rules of the Now, which is available now.
It is available now. Yes, it's a dystopian black comedy, near future, cli-fi game book I've run out of descriptors for it. So yes, it's set in 2041, and you are a lowly bureaucrat for an insurance company. And one day you get home and find you can't get in your home because all of your money has been taken and all of your identity has been erased, and the government has declared you a terrorist, and you have to work out why, because you haven't done anything that makes you a terrorist, but and that's where it starts.
Yeah.
So it starts on a downer and probably gets worse from there.
So everyone, check out Rulers of the Now by Stuart Lloyd, available now. I am Alison Cybe, and I have been writing a tabletop roleplay game of Vikings and post-cyberpunk action called Shield Maidens. Check it out. It should be on Kickstarter sometime fairly shortly, if not right now. So we will be looking forward to you joining us again, same time next week, for Return to Firetop Mountain. Stuart, say goodbye.
Bye.
Bye. The podcast from Firetop Mountain is brought to you by our Patreon supporters. Be sure to like, comment and subscribe, ring the bell and do all the other things you need to do in order to get another season of the podcast from Firetop Mountain.